My father is deaf, but my wife never learned ASL, and my new deaf friend doesn't want me to translate for her. Now, I've decided I do want her to learn, but she's making no effort. So my, 33M, father is deaf. Because of this, I've been signing for as long as I can remember. My wife, 33F, is hearing and has never put much effort into learning ASL, beyond a few basic signs. This has never bothered me, but it does make it difficult when we visit my family, since I basically have to play translator if she and my dad want to have conversations. But I do it to facilitate a bond between them. We visit my dad every other weekend, so it is very regular and frequent. About 2 months ago, I learned of an opportunity at the local college in our city where volunteer native speakers could come to converse with the students in the advanced ASL courses. It was going to be a monthly thing, in order to track the students' progress. I jumped at the chance to help out. I'm very passionate about people learning ASL. One of the other volunteers there was a nonverbal man, Alex, 29M, who I found an easy camaraderie with. We exchanged numbers and became fast friends. We began hanging out and, during the time we would spend at my place, I wouldn't translate even if my wife was in the room, other than their introductions and small talk, because Alex never requested I do so. After a few weeks of this, my wife brought it up as something that was bothering her. She said she felt left out and like Alex and I were keeping secrets. I politely apologized and went on to have a discussion with Alex about this whole thing. He said he felt it was rude that my wife never even so much as made an effort to learn ASL, especially since I had very close family who were deaf, so he had no interest in conversing with her. And honestly, I kind of agreed with him. It didn't rub me the wrong way at first, but now that she's complaining about being left out, despite having years to learn at least some of this new language, feels silly to me. I let my wife know I would still translate for my dad and her, but things were staying the same with Alex. She's still angry at me. Update 1. I sat down and had a conversation with my wife about my changing point of view on her ASL abilities. I said I made a mistake by coming at her with resentment and hostility, instead of taking the time to explain my thoughts. I expressed that I was hurt by her complaints, because people like Alex and my dad have to go through life being unable to communicate. What she experienced isn't even a fraction of what they do. I reminded her that she has had a deaf father-in-law for years, and plenty of opportunities to learn, but she hasn't taken them. It has been a dream of mine to adopt a deaf or hard of hearing child sometime in the future. I brought this up to her again as yet another reason why learning could be beneficial. Even if that dream doesn't end up coming to fruition, there will still be people in our lives who communicate through ASL. There are literally no cons to learning, only pros. My wife said she understood and that she would make time to do so, even if it was just a daily sign from me or a quick YouTube video lesson. I thanked her and we moved on. During the week following this conversation, I saw no effort on her part, despite what she had said. I brought it up to her once a few days later, then again at the end of the week, and I was continually brushed off with what essentially boiled down to, "I'm busy, I'll get to it later." This was disheartening. I went to my parents' home alone last weekend, and vented to them about what was going on. My dad shared with me a story, one I had heard many times before, about how quickly my mom started learning ASL after the two of them met. He hadn't asked her to, and it took some time before they were able to have a proper conversation that way, but what had mattered was the effort. Not just passively, like my wife picking up a few basic signs over the years, but real actively trying to learn effort. My mom suggested I give her a little more time, but that if this is something that means a lot to me, then I need to stand up for that. In the almost 2 weeks since the conversation with my wife, I've hung out with Alex many times and we did our monthly volunteer work at the local college. Being immersed in that culture feels invaluable to me. There is such a juxtaposition between the appreciation for this beautiful language versus the scrapbooking and pottery classes my wife is in. It's been hard for me to accept that that's where she would rather spend her time, despite what we talked about. I don't expect her to drop her hobbies, but she promised me she would at least try. When I admitted this to her, it caused a big argument. She is currently staying elsewhere, while I'm staying at our home with a friend. Sometimes people's growth happens in opposite directions, it seems. Some people have asked me why Alex was allowed to insult my wife in her home. Allowing space for someone to express frustration over their primary, and only, in this case, form of communication being looked at as inconvenient, or a tool for secret keeping, doesn't feel disrespectful to me, personally. With that being said, it is a fantastic way to gossip. She obviously knew about my upbringing, and the importance of ASL to me, but there was never an expectation that she learn it prior to marriage. Her complaining and my getting further involved in the community, plus creating a new deaf support system, has started changing my opinion on things. We don't have children currently. At one point, prior to meeting my wife, I was sincerely invested in the thought of adopting a deaf or hard of hearing child, but that specific dream got put on the back burner when life happened and things got a little more hectic. It's something that's been popping up in my mind recently, and yeah, that would be difficult if one of the child's parents feels like it's too much effort to even try and communicate. I have some things to consider moving forward, it seems. Effort really does go a long way in showing someone how much you care. My dad met Alex a few weeks ago, and he was overjoyed to meet a friend of mine who he could converse with properly, but he's also been happy in the past when my friends, mostly from my high school days, wanted to learn it all.